currently on a journey to watch every single Marvel film because while I've dipped in and out of Marvel films, I've never really taken to them. But I did a few years ago watch Captain America, and I remember liking it, but I didn't remember that much about it. So I decided that it was time for me to watch it again. I'm still in phase one, of course, and I really adored this. And so far, I would say that this is my favorite Marvel film. I have a lot more to watch, but so far, out of the 6 or 7 that I've seen, Captain America: The First Avenger is my favorite. This was released in 2011, directed by Johnston, and stars, of course, Chris Evans as Captain America. We have obviously a really fantastic cast: Hugo Weaving, Samuel L. Jackson, fabulous Hayley Atwell as Agent Carter, Dominic Cooper, Stanley Tucci. I have to say, Erskine as a character I loved, and I won't spoil anything in case you haven't seen this, but I feel like I'm the only person on the planet who is quite behind with Marvel. But what happens to Erskine's character really upset me, and I remember feeling that exact same way the first time I watched this film. That's one of the things that really stuck with me. But the narrative is definitely one of the reasons why I love this more than any of the other Marvel films that I've seen, and that's because it's set during the Second World War. It's one of my favorite time periods in history to study. I love watching films that are either about it, set during it. This is obviously no exception. I'll read the description from IMDb and talk a little bit around it. Does this description really explain it very well? I'm not sure. Let's have a look. This says, Steve Rogers, a rejected military soldier, transforms into Captain America after taking a dose of a super soldier serum. But being Captain America comes at a price as he attempts to take down a warmonger in a terrorist organization. Steve Rogers is, of course, our Captain America, played by Chris Evans. He is rejected for several reasons from the army, but he is enlisted to take part in an experiment that's working to create a super army, if you like. You take this serum and you become super strong, super powerful, the kind of superhero that we can imagine. And obviously that does come with a price because he now has to fight evil, to be quite frank. Now, we're not talking about him battling on the front line and defending and fending off the Nazis. It isn't defending the Nazis, it's the antithesis of what's going on here. Obviously fending off the bad guys. And it does get quite action-packed, and there are a lot more intricacies to this with who the bad guys are, and there are certain characters in this who I believe we meet later on in later films, and there are things in this that I will need to watch it again to pick up. For example, the inclusion of Stark. Even though I've just watched the Iron Man films, it took me quite longer than it should have done to pick up on the name Stark and work out who Howard Stark was. So certainly there's a lot going on here to unpack, but I will just say that it's brilliant. I think the character of Steve Rogers is brilliant. I absolutely love him. Very well rounded, very well fleshed out. When he becomes Captain America, I feel like he still retains the qualities that make him Steve Rogers. So even though he physically looks a lot more powerful and capable, I don't feel like his mind changed that much, and that's something that I really liked because he didn't just change as a person. It worked really well for me. The costumes are absolutely fantastic. I can't say who did the costumes, but I will check that just now. Casting is obviously brilliant. Costume design is by Anna B. Shepherd. The soundtrack, the score, brilliant. One of my favourite scenes is the montage where Captain America is being toured around the different states and basically being propaganda, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. The dance numbers, the choreography, the costumes in those scenes, just brilliant. Because I'm not the biggest fan of action films, when it does get a bit more, when it gets darker and the action picks up and it becomes less about showing off this super soldier serum and more about actually taking action, I lose a little bit of interest. But that's not the film's fault. That's because I'm not the biggest fan of films that are action-packed. I prefer films with an interesting narrative. Of course, the narrative is interesting, but when a lot of it is action rather than narrative development, that's where I stop being interested. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why Marvel has never appealed to me personally because they are heavily action based, and that's fine. They're at the top of the game with that genre, and if you like that, then I feel like you probably already are a Marvel fan. I was very impressed with Captain America: The First Avenger. As I said, I remember really liking it the first time I watched it. This second time around is absolutely no exception. If you haven't seen it for whatever reason, give it a go. If you haven't seen any Marvel films, or you're struggling to get into Marvel like I was, I'd say watch from the beginning. Start with Phase 1 and work through it. They're all on Disney+. The only one that isn't is Hulk, because of some rights issues, but that Hulk film is not really canon anyway. If anybody can explain that in more detail, please feel free to in the comments. But yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next film. The next film is definitely going to be interesting, and I think I might have to watch it pretty soon. So far, quite enjoying this journey.